The purpose of this video is to show how to enforce TLS SSL connections to the AAI server, which means forcing HTTPS connections to the AAI web UIs. This does not include the connectors or the reporting server, which are covered elsewhere. The process is very simple. We create a key store file containing the public key and install this file under the JBoss file structure. AAI has a configuration file to enable the HTTPS protocol, among other things, and we'll show how to update it. The entire demo will take place on Linux, but the procedure is ultimately the same on Windows. First, let's provide an overview of the procedure. We use Java's key tool to generate a key store, which contains the public key enforcing the use of a certificate when connecting to the web UI. We're going to provide the exact syntax for this. Then we update a configuration file called standalone.xml under the JBoss file structure. We enable the TLS protocol, enter the information for the key store, and we enable the HTTPS connector and the listener. We restart AAI and connect to the web interface via HTTPS. Here are the specifics. On our system, Java is owned by roots, and so we use keytool with root privileges. The syntax is straightforward. -gen key generates a key contained in a key store. -alias sets the alias of the key, and you can use anything you want. -keyalg sets the algorithm, and we use RSA. -keystore sets the actual key store file name and location, and this needs to be created in the jboss/standalone/configuration directory. The key store can be called anything you want, and it doesn't necessarily require the key store extension. It's up to you. -ext sets the subject alternative name, or SAN. The key is system specific and name-based. It cannot be used anywhere but this system. More recent releases of certain web browsers require a SAN, which references both the host name but also the fully qualified domain name. So you should have a DNS entry for each. In certain cases, you may also specify the IP. Our setup is entirely local, and so we'll have one entry, the host name. But in an enterprise instance, you'll need all three. Finally, -validity sets a time of validity of the certificate in days. Again, this is up to you. You'll be asked to set passwords to your key store file and the actual key. For demo purposes, we'll simply use password in lowercase, but you can set both to anything you want. The key store file will be created in the configuration directory, but will be owned by roots, and so we'll set the owner of the file to whoever owns the AAI file system, in our case, user uppercase AAI. Then we check the contents of the key store with key tool and the -list -v options. We specify the file and the alias, and we're prompted for the password associated with the key store. Next, we have to create a new standalone.xml file in the configuration directory. We activate TLS and enable HTTPS in this file. We provide details on the next slide. 4 changes are required in this file, and we've indicated what to look for, what to remove in red, and what to add in green. First, we enable the TLS protocol. For this, we search for the text string application realm. We have an element called server-identities, which is commented out. We remove the commenting to enable the elements. This contains a sub-element called keystore path. Since standalone.xml is located in the same directory as the keystore file, we do not need a full path, but we do need the file name as well as the keystore passwords. Then we have to enable HTTPS. We look for HTTP-connector name. The default setup has the HTTP connector elements uncommented and HTTPS commented. We reverse it. Finally, we do the same for the socket binding listener. We look for default -server and repeat the exact same procedure as for the connector. Let's start with key tool. We need to be connected to the AAI server host, and Java 8 should be installed. We navigate to the Java bin directory. We run key tool with an alias called uppercase AAI, a key store file called aai.keystore, a simple SAM with the host name, and a validity of 10 years. We have to set and confirm the key store passwords. The next set of prompts are standard with certificates. The only one that really matters is the first and last name, which should be the fully qualified domain name. Since our setup is local, we use the host name. This prompt is important. You can't just use anything, you have to reference the host. You're prompted for a number of other fields like organizational units and location. Feel free to enter anything you want. For AAI's purposes, this information is not important. We'll just enter to skip through. We're prompted for confirmation. We enter yes. The key store file is a container. It contains a public key mapped to the certificate required to connect to the web interfaces over HTTPS. We've entered a password for the key store. We also need a password for the key itself. You can enter anything you want, and it can be the same password or a different one. Your key store file was created. We navigate to the location and change the ownership of the file. We should verify the validity of our key store with key tool and the -list -v options. The key store part is done. We have to configure AAI to accept HTTPS connections only. For this, we SU as the AAI owner and head to the configuration directory under the JBoss web application directory. We have two files, standalone.xml, which is the proper config file, and an original called .fresh. If you make alterations to the XML file and wish to revert back to the original, you can simply delete the XML file and make a new one by duplicating the fresh version. First, we look for the text string application realm. We have to uncomment the element so as to enable TLS and enter the details of our key store file. That means the name of the file and the passwords. In our situation, we don't need to change the password since the default matches what we used, but you will definitely need to set yours. That takes care of TLS. The next element we look for is HTTP-connector name. We remove the commenting for HTTPS and comment out HTTP. Next, we look for the default -server elements and we do the same. Disable HTTP and enable HTTPS with commenting. Let's restart AAI. In our case, we'll Control-C out of the JBoss server to stop it. AAI is started. Let's try and log into the web UI. The home page is set to AAI. Obviously, it doesn't work. Let's try with HTTPS. Remember that the port is now 8443. You're warned of a potential security risk because the certificate associated with our key is self-signed, meaning it's not signed by a public authority, which web browsers immediately perceive as a threat for good reason. We tell Firefox to accept the risk and download the certificate.